In today's video, I want to share with you guys 11 talking points when it comes to keeping your kids off of drugs or how to support a child who's already struggling with a substance use disorder. Now, I come at today's video with 2 points of view. Point number one, as a certified addiction recovery coach who specializes in helping people quit nicotine, THC, binge drinking, and media content addictions, I also come at this point of view as a child who once struggled with substance use disorders throughout most of my high school life into early adulthood. I want to make one thing very clear. As a parent, you might be doing everything 100% correct, and your kid still might find himself in a bad situation. I understand that that happens, and I understand that not everything I say in today's video is going to directly apply to you as a parent. Point number one that I would like to make is monkey see, monkey do. And this applies to all ages, whether we're talking grade school or all the way throughout college life. Kids don't listen. Young adults don't listen to other people. They copy other people. And this is especially true when it comes to alcohol consumption, which can be directly correlated to weed smoking, especially in a younger demographic. If you're a parent and you're coming home every night having a glass of wine to escape or having a beer to unwind after a hard day of work, you're teaching your child that coping mechanism. You're teaching your child that behavior. And they're going to look at that. And when you say, hey, don't smoke weed, don't vape nicotine, don't chew tobacco, they're going to look at you and say, well, dad, well, mom, you drink wine every night. You drink a beer every night to cope. Why would I not be expected to do the same? If you're using substances to escape the life that you created for your children, why would you expect anything different from them? Why would you expect a different behavior from them? That's point number one. Monkey see, monkey do. So be very careful of the day-to-day actions that you take and how those actions are portrayed. Point number two is stability in the home. And this is probably one of the most important things. And this is probably one of the primary reasons or one of the factors that I found myself getting tied up in substance use. If the home life is not stable, that child is going to seek stability elsewhere. And although drugs are chaotic and they're a maladaptive behavior, there is a sense of stability in substance use, and that stability comes through predictability. I know what's going to happen when I get high. I know what's going to happen when I go out and get drunk. I know the emotions that I'm going to experience. I know the feelings that I'm going to have. So substance use, although chaotic, has its own form of predictability and stability that comes along with it. And if the home life is unstable, that child's going to seek stability through something else, even if that something else is a destructive behavior. Point number three, kids will cope with this lack of stability through drug use in many cases. Drugs are easily acceptable, and there's almost no learning curve. I don't have to teach someone how to do drugs. It's kind of self-taught, and if it's not self-taught, it's easily taught through social media or the influence of friends or other people that they're going to come across in life. It's our responsibility as parents to teach our kids proper coping mechanisms. If you're drinking alcohol, they're learning to escape with substance use. Period. They're learning that from you. That's what you are teaching them. Your actions are going to be a reflection of their actions. And by teaching your kids proper coping mechanisms, I'm not referencing just talking about them. I'm not referencing just educating them on these coping mechanisms. I'm referencing showing them. By teaching your kids proper coping, what I'm actually saying is show them. Prove it to them. Show them that you can improve your quality of life through healthy coping mechanisms. So hopefully in turn, one day they do the same. Point number 4 is earn their respect. Keep in mind, your children are comparing you to everyone else they meet at one point or another. They're comparing you to their teachers, they're comparing you to your friends' parents, they're comparing you to everyone they come in contact with. And if they don't respect you, if you're not a superhero in their eyes that they can look up to, they're going to seek elsewhere to find that superhero. They're going to seek elsewhere to find that person that they can look up to. If your children don't respect you, your children will not listen to you. And I run into this all the time, especially when I'm working in the high schools. I have so many kids that I work with, and their parents don't give them any attributes to respect. So the kid looks at their parent and they say, "Why would I listen to my dad? Why would I listen to mom? Mom's stoned all day. Dad's drunk all day. Dad's cheating on mom all the time." I have no reason to respect the opinions of my parents because I don't want to turn out like them. If your kids don't respect you, they won't listen to you. And once again, this would be a scenario where your advice, even if good intentioned, would fall upon deaf ears. Point number 5. You and your spouse or your significant other have to be on the same page. This could be discipline related, this could be faith related, this could be a curfew time, this could be the need for the child to get a job and work, whatever it is. If you and your spouse or your significant other are not on the same page, that creates a lack of stability and it creates gaps in the boundaries that you're trying to set. This is the perfect opportunity for addiction to find its way into your household. Point number 6, keep a very close eye on your children's friends. Remember, throughout high school, throughout college, even grade school nowadays, this is where a lot of these crappy behaviors are going to start because your children are surrounded by a bunch of other kids and the influence that those other parents are having on their children that you have absolutely no control over. You are the summation of the 5 people that you hang around most, and your kids in many cases aren't going to be around you the most. So keep a very close eye on who it is they're hanging around and encourage them to hang around the right types of people. And this starts with taking a look at the people that you are exposing your kids to. If you're having people over all the time and you're getting drunk with your friends all the time and you're partying all the time with alcohol and smoking weed and you're hanging out with a bunch of people who are deadbeats, your kids see that. They take note of that and they will eventually become attracted to the same type of crowd. So point number 7, and this may be the most important point that I'm going to make, is work on yourself through teaching your children self-development through action. Your kids want well for you just as much as you want well for them, if not more, right? As a child, I want to see mom and dad succeed. I want to see my mom well taken care of. I want to see my parents happy. I want to see them do better. If you can't take care of yourself, if you can't improve your own quality of life, how would you ever expect to have the influence or the capability to improve theirs? If you got drunken stoned dad coming to me saying, "I don't get it, my young daughter, she's 14 years old, she's already drinking alcohol, she's already smoking weed," I'm going to look at drunk stoned dad and I'm going to say, "Hey, maybe your daughter's concerned about you, and maybe the best thing you could do for your daughter is improve yourself first, because no one wants to take advice from someone who isn't in a place that they want to be in, right? So I don't want to take advice from drunk stoned dad. And guess what? Chances are the children don't either. And even worse, in their case, the children of that father, the children of that mother, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of suffering for them tied to those destructive behaviors that the parents have. So start working on yourself first. If your kids are already in substance use, ask yourself, how could I improve? How could I show them that change is possible? How could I show them that we're capable of a better quality of life? And once you do that, then start to reward them through their own processes of self-development and self-improvement, because that's one of the most important things that we have. Point number 8, Keep them busy by providing them with opportunities. And many of these opportunities are going to require healthy finances. So if your finances aren't in order, get your finances in order. Give your kid the opportunity to play on the sports team. Give your kid the opportunity to pick up a new hobby, skiing, hockey, picking up an instrument. Money is what's going to give your children the opportunity to stay busy. Kids have an abundance of energy throughout most of grade school, most of high school, and throughout a majority of college into early adulthood. Just because you're burned out, just because the world has scarred you, doesn't mean it has them yet. And it's your responsibility to do the most that you can to make sure that that doesn't happen. Sure, to some extent, they have to live life's experiences on their own. Yes, they have to touch a hot stove to learn not to do it again. But as a parent, it's your job to provide them with the opportunities to keep them away from substance use. And the reality is, a lot of that is going to start with healthy finances. That's just the reality. Tip number 9, learn proper discipline after earned respect. So many parents that I come across throughout these high school and middle school interactions are under the impression that respect strictly comes from discipline. And that's simply not true, because a lot of parents don't even understand what proper discipline looks like. I'll give you the example of, let's say, Timmy. Timmy gets caught vaping in school. He gets suspended. So mom says, no cell phone, no video games, no contact with your friends, no contact with school because you're suspended for a week, no going outside, no anything. It's like a form of isolation to their bedroom. You're setting that child back more than the substances themselves when you don't understand proper discipline. So if you don't know what that looks like, find someone who does and work with them. Find someone who can work with you to help you earn the respect of your children. Proper discipline is so important, but it's not physical abuse. It's not screaming and yelling irrational things, and it's not putting them into a hole of self-isolation. Do you know what happens to prisoners in jail when they're completely isolated from the outside world? Do you know how mentally tough they have to be to pull out of that space? Very few actually make it out of that okay mentally. You may unintentionally be mentally hindering and scarring your children than the substances themselves. So take a very close look at that. Remember, discipline comes after earned respect. Respect is earned by giving your children a superhero, a role model to look up to. Tip number 10, have a relationship with your kids and don't spend your life trauma dumping all of your baggage onto them. The goal of a parent is to provide a better life for your children than you once had. And it's to teach them, of course, about the hard times. I'm not saying hand them a buttload of money. I'm not saying shield them from all the bad things in the world by any means. In fact, I would never recommend doing that. But I am recommending not to dump all of your emotional turmoil on them, because guess what? They're going to feel that. They're going to feel for you. And then they're going to wind up with a drug problem. And they're going to say, or subconsciously, they're going to recognize, I can't talk to dad about this. I can't talk to mom about this, because dad and mom already have enough on their plate. They got the divorce. They don't have enough money from their job. They have X, Y, and Z. And this closes down the relationship between you and your children by you saying, dad has too much on his plate. Mom has too much on her plate right now. We don't have time for you. Guess what? They're not going to open up to you. They're not going to develop the relationship with you that they need to, because that form of open and honest communication, especially if substance use does occur, is so, so important. If it just ends in immediate disciplinary action, which I'm not saying is a wrong thing, disciplinary action, but if that's always where it goes, to yelling, screaming, disappointment, we're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to get anywhere. And tip number 11, if you are not one to practice religion, if your family is not one that has embraced religion, and trust me, by no means is addiction shielded by religion. By no means. I know plenty of people who are religious who suffer from some of the worst addictions, and sometimes they'll even manipulate religion to justify their addictions. Well, it's God's will, it's God's way. If I'm to drink, I'm to drink. I know people who do that. But if religion hasn't been a thing in your home, maybe it's time you allow God into your home and allow God into your life. Because if what you're currently doing isn't working, there's no point in continuing to do what you're currently doing, right? That I think that's a logical thing. In most cases, not all, in most cases, religion is going to provide children with a set of morals. It's going to provide society with this, with a set of ethics. It's going to provide them with a set of expectations and a set of rules to follow. That's a lot of what religion is about. And it's also going to provide them with a healthy coping mechanism. Having faith in something, especially when times get tough, is a good thing. And this is most often why I think we see people who are going through some of the most challenging times in life as the people who find religion. It's fascinating to me. I came across a gentleman the other day who lost his child, which I could only fathom is the worst experience in the entire world. And he said it was through that experience that he found God. And I don't understand it. I don't. And maybe someone in the comments could explain that to me. But I respect it. And to some extent, I understand the importance of it. So if you haven't found God in your home and what you're currently doing isn't working, perhaps religion is something to turn to and something to incorporate. Those are the 11 tips that I have for you. Now, I've put each of these tips into a PDF document called Keeping Your Kids Off of Drugs. It's a free download that you can find in the pinned comment or the video description. Be sure to check that out. And if you need more help with this, if you are a parent, if you have a child who's struggling, book a one-on-one coaching call. Look, I'll be honest. It's much easier for me to work with your kid than it is for you to. That's just the reality, okay? Having an outside person, having a third party step in many cases is much easier than trying to handle it yourself. Because as a parent, this can be an incredibly overwhelming process, especially if you're in a situation where you yourself are already overwhelmed. So check out those one-on-one coaching calls, check out the free PDF, and if none of that is something you want to do, just follow me into the next video. I'll see you again soon.